day, viewers. Welcome to another episode of Writing Theatre, where we get to chat with and get to know great media personalities. My name is OMODOLAPO, your host, and my co-host is.
I'm DADA ADEDOYINSOLA.
Our guest today is a notable media professional with over 3 decades of experiences in the field of journalism. He is currently the provost of the Nigerian Institute of Journalism and the editor-in-chief of the Vanguard Media. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
So, yes, I have introduced you to our viewers, but I don't think I've done it the proper way. So, can you please introduce yourself?
Thank you very much. My name is Gbenga Adefaye, Provost, Nigerian Institute of Journalism, and until recently, the General Manager and Editor-in-Chief of Vanguard Newspaper. I retired from Vanguard May 31st, 2023, after 37 years of working there.
Oh.
So here I am.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity, sir.
Thanks for being here. Really appreciate it.
So, my first question is, what inspired your interest in media, the journalism aspect of it? Why did you choose it as at that time? That's over 30 years ago. What inspired it? Was there a particular person that encouraged you, or you just wanted to do it for a reason?
Thank you very much. A good question. I was inspired into the media business, media world, by my literature English teacher in 1980, when I was doing advanced level at a school called Baptist High School, Ede, in Osun State. The English literature teacher, Mr. Omiyale, is still alive. We met him 2 years back when we did home return to the school. He had a peculiar way of conducting the morning assembly. Today, looking back, I'll say I was to use the word bombastic. He had a way of speaking, and he will hold everybody in trial and say, this man. And the additional qualification he had that he displayed to everybody was that he did a diploma in journalism. And so it caught my fancy. I said, well, this man could be like this, so why can't I be a journalist?
Like that,
So that was the beginning of my journey into journalism. I didn't complete the advanced level studies. I did just lower class, and then did JAM, and was lucky, fortunate, I was admitted to study mass communication at University of Nigeria, Nsukka. So that's the beginning of the journey. It was a deliberate thing, influenced by Mr. Abayomi Omiyale. He's still alive, my literature and English teacher, who was quite good at his, was quite eloquent and all of that. So that was the inspiration.
Okay, so have you ever had any regrets in your profession in life since you started?
No, I wouldn't have wished for something else. I knew from the word go that journalism will give me name, name recognition, will give me fame. And I was warned very early. It may not give me all the money, but I didn't end up a pauper also. I've had a great career, and if I'm to choose again, if I return to this part of the world, I would still love to be a journalist.
So, what are the current opportunities that journalists are enjoying that you wish you had as a budding journalist back then?
Under Dr. now Professor Tony Redia, he was the manager news and current affairs in Benin. We were three that were posted to do youth service in NTA Benin. And corpers were not known to pay attention to primary assignment. But I was interested. Although I had planned to do print, but being the TV station was a unique opportunity for me. So they saw me hanging around, and he said, call the called the news editor and said, look, this copper appears to be interested in working. So deploy him as to deploy every other reporter in the newsroom.
Okay.
So I'll be given a camera to go out on assignment. The whole it's with fetish. Say one massive camera with a lighting man, with a car, and then you go out and all that. So it was burdensome. at that very beginning. It was not affordable for individuals to have the gadgets to work with. And the greatest possession you could have then was a midget. Not the mini one, slightly massive. You put a battery and all of that, and then you come back and you do longhand transcribing and all of that. You don't do all of that anymore now. You have AI, you can do transcription, you can ask all the questions, you can do all the researches. To prepare to go to interview like this, you spend hours in the library reading fat books or then outdated. But today, the touch of the button, you can do the Google search and all of that. So, back to your question. In our days, we didn't have the privilege you have now. It is easier to do the work. You can walk and send your story from the venue on site. You didn't have to go through the heavy traffic that we went through from point of assignment back to the office to get debriefed by the news editor before you do your long essay in longhand that they will first of all have to rewrite also in longhand, and then they will begin to mark copy to correct, and then when they finish typesetting in the newsroom, you then go and proofread again before you pass back to the copy editor, the sub-editor, who will now do the pasting, the layout, they call it comprehensive layout, which will now be taken to the production unit for them to set out the pages, which you proofread again before they go out and then make the plate. And then before they are able to make the plate, several processes go through the film, bring back, correct. Before you make the plate, you go and clamp the plate and then print. Now today, on my handheld, I can do all those processes.
Yes.
And life is fun. So you guys are lucky.
Sir, you're currently a personality to reckon in the media industry. How does that feel?
Very good. Like I said to you, journalism gave me name recognition.
Yeah.
I started with television, and I went to a magazine. I worked with a magazine called New Breed Magazine, owned by Chief Okole. It's long dead, at number 75 Obulano Drive, I think. Then from that magazine, I then went to another magazine called New Globe, owned by Chief Emeka Ojukwu, Ikemba Nnewi. Yes, I worked with him before I then joined Vanguard Newspaper, production person. So, beautiful experience, and I love that.
So, what are the issues you tackle, like personally and professionally, at that point?
Well, at the earlier point, and I think it does happen to almost all the young journalists, you are faced with the challenge of personal economic survival, staying true to the profession, and or opting out to go and look for quick money. A lot of my colleagues that I started with just couldn't stay. They worked it for a few years and grabbed the immediate opportunity to go to PR or advertising or what have you. But those of us who stayed back, we thank God today. So to answer your question, the big challenge always for young journalists is that of economic survival. How to match your pay with a good living standard. Don't forget that you have classmates that you left school with, who are in the banks, who are in the industry, and you get to meet. You see some of them, they become bank managers, some will become accountants, and you are a reporter, not changing your shirt as you would love to, and can be tough. In fact, sometimes can be as tough as not even have the confidence to talk to the pretty girls you like. So those are the early challenges. But if you stay faithful to the calling, it can be quite profitable at the end of it.
I would like to ask, because I'm curious about knowing if at any point you were threatened in the field? Was there any threats?
You won't be threatening
to life or?
No, you won't be threatening in the field because it's the risk you face as a journalist. And apart from you going to cover assignments I get beaten up, I was once beaten up, I think that would be 86, by the masquerade on Lagos Island. I was to go interview the bishop. I was just unlucky. Thoroughly beaten. I'll never forget. Since then, 86, they tell me there is your festival, I don't go out. I don't go.
Trauma.
I never got over it. That was an example. And then there was the other example. I was the chief, no, I was deputy editor in Vanguard Newspaper. That was under Abacha. And there was one famous man they called Colonel Omenka. Yeah, he was in charge of the director of military intelligence. Here we are writing some stories about happening, some postings in the army, which was authored by a defense correspondent. It's late now, George Honor. So George Honor was invited. George Honor actually retired from the army before he joined the newspaper. So George Honor was taken in by the military for publishing classified information, what he was not supposed to publish. He was detained. But the army was not satisfied. It was in the era of Nadeco. They were looking for more accomplices. So here was I as the deputy editor of Vanguard Newspaper, and a Yoruba man. And they came here after taking Jojona. They invited the editor, Mr. Frank Egbogu, the publisher of Business Day newspaper. Then they invited me. They have threatened Judge Honor that, you look, you are judge, you are not alone. You must have worked with some other persons to carry a story to threaten government. And Judge said, no, I'm sufficiently senior enough in the system. I got this story and I got this published. They said, we are not satisfied. So they said, okay, it must be one man, the deputy editor, who was in charge of production of the paper. And so that happened to be me. Unfortunately, I happened to have answered Gbenga Adefaye. So as far as I was concerned, as far as Colonel Omenka was concerned, I was a Nadeco chieftain in the newspaper. So I was invited. They asked me to come. I got to the place by 10 a.m. in the morning. They asked me to sit in the corner. So I sat there. I wasn't detained, but nobody spoke to me until 10:30 in the night. That was when they started the interview. They finished the interview at about 12:30, and they asked me to go. In the interview, they asked about threat. They said to me, Gbenga, we are asking you to go, you will come back, no doubt. But let me tell you, if whatever you have done here, you have said here, leaks, you will be finished. You will also rot in jail. It has even survived. Look, we have done our checks on you. We know where you live. And he mentioned the exact location of my house. I was living in number 19, something close in Idemu. He mentioned the house, the exact location of the house. He mentioned it was a 2-floor apartment. He mentioned the location of my flat. And he said, we know you also just got married. And that if we have cause to bring you in, we will ruin your life, we will rape your wife, we will make your life miserable. And I was lucky. None of that happened to me. I eventually went home. I was scared, I must confess to you. And that was where it ended. So to answer your question, yes, you get threatened, but doesn't amount to much. Unlike now, you people have fun. You can stay on the highway and call your president all names in this world, abuse him, and nothing happens. It wasn't always like that under the military.
So, you said you were not attended to from 10 a.m. to 10:30 p.m.
Yes, that was psychological wearing out. It was meant to weaken you, to weaken your resolve, so that you cave in when you eventually you go in for your interrogation. Because they asked all sorts of questions. It was meant to frighten you, really. Because by the time I was released after midnight, in the afternoon, in the morning when I got there, cars were parked at number 4 Park Lane at Papa, their office. In front of where we all parked. I parked my car, a Peugeot 505. But after midnight, when I was asked to go, there was total blackout on the street. Only my car was in the dark. So I got out and entered the car. They could have, when we trapped the car, they could have blown me off. They could have followed you in the night and shoot you.
Yeah.
People, you're just lucky. So asking you to steal like that was meant to intimidate and weaken you.
Yes.
But again, journalists of them were also all prepared for
all those challenges.
So I wasn't alone. Almost every journalist was threatened, was harassed, was detained, and some even got killed. Some got missing. They never found them.
A lot of people have the belief that newspaper will gradually become extinct. And as someone with over 3 decades of experience in this field, and as the provost of this institution, do you actually think newspapers might go extinct anytime soon?
No, newspapers will not go into extinction. And I'll tell you, it's not new. These are an old conversation. After newspaper came radio, and people said, oh, with radio here and there now, newspapers will die. Newspaper did not die. Newspaper became stronger and more influential. Then came television, audio visual. They say, oh, not just newspaper, maybe even radio will die. No. Newspaper is there. Radio is there. Newspaper is there. Now we have the internet. That's why everybody's saying newspaper will die. But before you came here, I was on the social media.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time on X, that's old Twitter, because there's a lot of education, a lot of information there. I was enjoying myself. But I tell you, why newspaper will not die. And by the way, the travail of the newspaper is almost limited, maybe largely to the West. When I say West, Europe and Africa and all of that. Newspapers are still growing in large numbers in the East, in Japan, in China, in Egypt, even in Israel. They are still printing millions of copies a day. So you need to look at that. And we then ask yourself, why are those ones not dying? Because they have the paper culture. If you find yourself in England, for instance, you are in the train, almost everybody is holding a novel or something. Everybody's reading. In India, paper, broadsheets, they print in millions, so then in local languages. People are reading and passing on the paper. Our own problem here, which is frightening people, is that we have a poor paper culture. We don't produce paper. So the cost of bringing in the paper is the main threat to the newspaper business. I'm sure if we go back, work on our policies and develop a stronger paper culture, the books are cheaper to buy, to read, more will consume the media. This is the Vanguard today's edition. I've read this paper before 6 a.m. on my handheld. It's not the same. The feel
On the book.
The record that we find there. And for us in Nigeria, for instance, in particular, because of our culture of celebration of life, obituaries, birthdays, and co, there will still be people who will be interested in putting their 69th birthday anniversary in the paper, or the brands who will do this, or governments who will want to do this for the record. There may be a decrease in the number. You may not have the newspapers, especially in Nigeria, consuming millions. It may be increasingly difficult for the businesses to survive, to thrive.
Yeah.
So what we will then have will be the newspaper owners rejigging the business model, and then the business will continue. But I don't think the newspaper will die. It is also in our interest for the newspaper not to die, because in Nigeria, in particular, the newspaper is noted for its soft power in our politics, for engaging the state, for engaging public officials. That is the influence. So if the newspaper should die, something in us, in all of us will die. So I don't think the nursepaper will die. We will not encourage it to die. We are working on it. Even while I've been here, I was active in the Newspaper Proprietors Association of Nigeria. And a lot of committees working on revival, sustaining the newspaper. And I think they will succeed. I don't expect the newspapers to die. But they have to look back into management strategy, into the business model, into the revenue model, and especially also the cost of the business.
So you've experienced being a managing director in a newspaper firm.
General manager.
Okay, and also being a top manager of a tertiary institution.
Yeah.
Do you find any correlation between what is happening in Ghana when compared to realities of what's happening in town?
Beautiful question. No, one of the reasons why the owners of this place sent me here is because, and I'm not the first, even with my predecessor, it's because they felt the NIJ, for instance, should return to its original ideas. If you go to that boardroom, you will see all the past directors. Some of them were white, some from Australia. This place was set up originally by IPI, and it was set up then to help on the skills of practitioners. Until 2004, when this was reformatted to now do ND, HND. Before, in the olden days, just senior persons who are in the industry or middle-level people. Now, the dream of the owner is that while we train young people like you, green and fresh, we should not lose sight of the original idea of being here. We love a situation where more and more people in the industry will subscribe to the ideas of having an NIJ. They go in, come back, go in, come back, continuous training. So you're not asking whether there's a correlation. Yes, a lot. I'm supposed to straddle the two worlds and to also bring in my own little experience to, while you deal with your MBTA curriculum, to also try and help the system to emphasize the practical skills that you require to survive in the industry. That's why the kind of thing you are doing now is the kind of thing you will do when you eventually leave. We expect that before you leave here, you are not just doing programs with confidence. You are able to do a newspaper or a magazine, even if in theory. So I see a lot of correlation. I think more of it should happen. You should be industry ready from your training here.
So, social media is the new norm. Everybody knows. But most people believe that it is a threat to information, especially the accuracy of information. And sadly, some journalists, trained ones, are peddlers of fake news too. What do you think can be done to curtail all of this?
What can be done is to do a lot more training, to get more people, more educated people to become professionals like you are here, who are conscious that there is ethics in journalism practice, who will do a lot more of fact-checking, and then encourage also the setting up of more platforms that are run by professionals. And the thinking therefore is, by the time you have the preponderance of platforms that are run by professionals, all flowers, let the flower, all 1,000 flowers bloom, let 1,000 voices contend, then the truth will survive. So the professional platform will trump those first ones, and then truth will trump falsehood. That is the way to go. You can't stop people from doing whatever they choose to do, but the more professionals, the more ethical practitioners we are able to create and generate that also go into the public space with the right information to convey, the better. And then there will be sanitization of what happens in public space.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, do you still think that journalists still do proper fact-checking before publishing their stories? And how do you think that fact-checking can be improved?
Journalists should do fact-checking. I don't know whether they do enough, but they should. But if you care about your name and your integrity, you do fact-checking. And as to whether they are doing enough, I can't say. But what should be done is to keep training people and equipping them with the right tools to do the fact-checking. If you do that, you go a long way. I, for instance, I never pass the first script, even if I'm the one writing. I don't have an editor around me. I say, editor, it could be you. I do a copy, I drop it. Come back to it in 30 minutes. And you'll be surprised how many errors even you will find. And there are so many tools which you can do fact check today. Not just Google search. Even sometimes you have to double check what you have checked.
Yes.
From Google.
Yes.
You have to double check what AI is giving you.
Yes.
I have AI installed on all my devices. I do. Pay 20,000 naira for a lifetime. Oh yeah. Subscribe to it.
For a lifetime?
Yeah.
Wow.
One subscription.
Once.
Once.
Okay.
Chat. Just pay and you can use it for a lifetime. But even at that, you have to keep checking even what you get from there.
Yes.
They give you the primary plot. What is important is that consciousness to know that you must go for the facts, check and double check. And where you have committed errors, have the humility to make the correction and admit so.
Sir, information and communication technologies already making things easier for people, especially with the barriers in communication. And we believe that learning and teaching is not restricted to school or the four walls of the school.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, why isn't NIJ doing anything to at least establish virtual classes, especially for students that live in faraway places or students with busy schedules that can't meet up with the 70% attendance? Why is there no provision for them virtually, for them to learn what we are learning to? Yes, they might not be able to get everything we get physically, but at least something should suffice.
Two questions there. First is, why are there no virtual classes? We are working on it. That's the answer to give in that regard. How soon that will be, I can't tell you yet. Because like most things here, it costs money. But I can tell you we are working on it. Because even we need it for ourselves also, it will help improve the environment. I'm talking, for instance, with one man who retires as a professor of communication who wants to arrange a joint relationship with Poynter Institute in US. They're doing joint classes and seminars and all of that. It's in the works. We don't know when it will mature. But the point to make is that we realize the need for this virtual thing, virtual classes, so that we can reach broader markets, broader audience and all of that.
Yeah.
But that will not be a substitute for attendance of classes. Because one thing we found out lately is that, sorry to say, with due respect to all of you, students are just not willing to learn. I'm sorry. Generally, you have a few outstanding ones, and they're not just willing to learn because things are too easy. You can pretend that you're in class, go back home, and use Google search or use AI to cover up. So when we say attend classes, it's actually meant to compel you with that limited space to pay a little more attention. Because once you pass this phase, you get a lot of live distractions.
Yes.
That you may not be able to do the concentration again.
Yes.
The 70% is actually meant to force you, to compare you, to get value for the money that you spend there. Because even if you do virtual classes, I can tell you some persons will still not attend. Yeah, that's the truth. So we will not back off the attendance thing because we think it's good for you while we work on improving our technological base to be able to do virtual classes. It's funds that has restricted us. If we are gone live with our radio by now, we are expecting there will be teachers' hours where some classes can be taken online. All of that. But like I said, we are working on some of these things.
As a provost of the school, which problems facing NIJ are you most aware of?
Money. It's the biggest problem we have here. We are limited by funds because we have dedicated source of funding, fees and charges, no grants. And this is a school that is more than 50 years old. The infrastructures are aging. They need to modernize them. We want to run a radio station. We want a modern studio equipped. We do accreditation with MBT, and there are resource assessment, the limited number of teachers we must have, the number of equipments we must have, number of mics we must have, number of this we must have. So the biggest problem, and it's not just peculiar to us, we are probably better than most schools. Okay. It's fun. You know, when you came, when we started this, I was asking about the lapel you are holding. Because I intend to take the name to see whether we can even get some of them, they are affordable for the school. That's just all. So that we don't need to go and look for 35 million naira to buy a camera to get the broadcast classes working. If you can do what you are doing here successfully with your handheld and with your lapel.
So have you thought of ways to handle them?
Yeah. The funding is being addressed by everybody concerned, the management, and of course the board, as the governing council, trying to see if we can get some sponsorship, whether we can also raise money from vested interest, from honorees, whether we can also get resources from the alumni association. We are fully listed. What our challenge is now is execution of some of these things, because money is scarce now.
Yes.
People just don't have enough to even feed. So when you now ask somebody, give us money and that. Then more importantly, the school itself must work on its own programs that will be income generative. Because even if you get a sponsor, we can only give you money for capital projects. Nobody will give you money for recurrent. So you will make your own money to pay your staff, to pay your basic general bills.
Sir, what advice would you give to people that are interested in journalism but they are limited by either resources or maybe location?
They should try. You can overcome resources challenge. You can. Not everybody here is very rich. They should get by once you're able to pay your fees. I've checked here, not too many books have been recommended for people to buy here. And in this modern age where we are now, with this, there's a lot you can do. It's to just stay focused on your ambition, on your dream, and you discover that it's realizable, no matter how tough it might appear.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you too.
So we have now come to the end of the show now. Thank you so much for staying with us. Don't forget to subscribe, share, comment, and like. See you next time. Bye.